Hello. Afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. FP2. Not long till we get underway. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're good. The weekend is, well, for me, is in full swing. Hope it is for many of you as well. Of course, those of you a little bit behind in the world. Hope your Friday's treating you well. Not long to go, guys. Not long to go. But yes, an interesting British Grand Prix ahead of us. An interesting FP1 as well, if you missed it. Lewis Hamilton topped the timing screens. Ferrari looking to make improvements, as they have done, week in, week out. But is it enough to catch those McLarens? We will see. Representative session coming in front of us. FP2 should get a good idea of the pecking order. So, did I stream FP1? I did indeed, Binosh. You didn't see that I was live earlier? That's because you haven't got your notifications turned on. Press that bell and you'll be notified half an hour before I go live. That's for sure. So, did the weather change from FP1? No. Same as always. Track temperature's around 40 degrees. Air temperature has gone up 1 degree. It's now 24.5. And then the wind is floating around 15. Wind's floating around anything from 5 kilometers an hour to 15 kilometers an hour. Always a windy circuit. Is Silverstone, as it is based on a former airfield, so it's quite flat. There is a little bit of elevation, but not too much really when it comes to Silverstone. Is there rain on Sunday? A little bit in the air, but we don't know. We don't. That's the thing with the British weather. You don't know. You never know. It could literally say sunny all day, and then it absolutely tips it down all day. Had that before plenty of times in the UK. So, Ben, the way you've been negatively polarised against Leclerc by his fans and the despicable things they say about Lewis should be studied. I legit used to like him too. Well, there's nothing against Charles Leclerc. I think this is a thing with fans and so forth. When it comes to online, social media and so forth, the fans are always very passionate. And unfortunately, it is a vocal minority of that fan base, of that particular driver or team, that always have the worst things to say. So, yeah, unfortunately, every driver has them. The drivers don't associate themselves with those particular fans. I doubt they do. And, I don't think... You should try and, ignore them, really. I don't spend too much time on Twitter anymore because it's just... Especially when it comes to F1, I try and pay as little attention to it as possible because people, even the technical guys, some of them are just chatting. It's all about engagement, isn't it? As a lot of social media is. So they all get money now, don't they, on Twitter for engagement. So the more controversial you are, the more clicks you're going to get. So, afternoon, Dan. Good to see you. Rhythm, you just noticed you got my gifted membership. Yes, welcome, buddy. I gifted 5 members earlier on. Totally random. So if you've been fortunate enough to get one, just like you were, Rhythm, welcome to the pit crew. Hopefully it entices you to continue that on. You'll obviously get that for a month. Hopefully it entices you to continue that on. But yes, welcome to the pit crew. It's a great place to be. Twitter is toxic in every sport. Yeah, and look, the more... that's the problem about every sport and every kind of topic, I guess. Doesn't matter what it is. Once something becomes popular, you get more and more people involved, and F1 has become, with its increasing popularity, unfortunately, it's become more toxic. But for the most part, it stays online. And look, if you are someone who is online, you have to be able to. Unfortunately, it's part and parcel. You have to just be able to accept that there's going to be toxic people, and just ignore it, really. So, I do a very good job of it. The best thing to do, the best advice, is post and ghost. Post and ghost. Don't get involved with the interactions. Even if it is tempting, but yeah. Sir Lewis owns July 6th British GPs. I saw that, yes. He's won his first race at McLaren at Silverstone. He won his first race with McLaren at Silverstone. on the 6th of July. Same with Mercedes as well. Well, he won his first Silverstone race, shall I say, on the 6th of July. And, well, 6th of July tomorrow, Sunday? Is it Sunday? For the British Grand Prix. Could it be a three-peat? We'll see. Every driver on the grid is good enough to be there. Even if I'm not a fan of every single one, I do respect them all. Yeah, you have to respect them. I don't believe every driver... I disagree that every driver on the grid is good enough to be there. I disagree with that. But you have to respect them for continuing to get back in those cars, even Lance Stroll, to attempt driving these cars as quick as possible. So, you're tempted to make a bet on Hamilton, Quicko. Ooh. See what his odds are. The media are doing their best to ruin the narrative of one of the most exciting and interesting seasons in a long time. Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen people say, oh, what a boring season. Oh, it's just like, it's just because your driver's not involved in it. Like, with respect. Was it more boring than what we saw in 22? Was it more boring than what we saw in 23? Was it more boring than what we saw in the Schumacher era? Like, there have been... Whenever there is a fight, genuine two drivers fighting for the championship, and there's less than one race win separating them, that's a positive in my eye. So, yeah. And that's partly, and I've said this, and this is partly why... And it's nothing to do with British bias and so forth. And I generally don't care who wins the championship. I think Piastri or Norris is a world champion. A new world champion is great for the sport. But there's part of me that is leaning towards Lando Norris to win the championship, because I do feel he gets an unnecessary amount of hate online for no reason. And I would love for all those haters to just be completely miffed off at the end of the season if he wins the championship. I'd love to see the meltdowns. So that's partly why I'm leaning towards supporting Lando a bit more than Oscar. Of course, yeah, I'm British, but it's got nothing to do with nationality. That's primarily the main reason, because I think it's just unwarranted. And I'd feel the same way if it was directed towards Piastri's way as well. But yeah, Lando is someone who unfortunately does get quite a lot of unnecessary hate. I think he's done better at ignoring it as time has gone on. But yeah, it would be brilliant to see all the meltdowns online. So you love the intra-team battle over the inter-team battles. What do I think will happen to Yuki due to his poor performances over the past races? He'll stay there to the end of the season at minimum, Prince. There's no way they're removing him from that car. Red Bull know internally. If you watch my video, I do think Red Bull know internally. They won't say it publicly. They know that second car is just a mystery to them. They've fucked it up. Excuse my language. Apologies. But they have. And doesn't matter who they put in that car now. It would just be demoralising to any driver. Keep Yuki in there, who is, in effect, a pay driver, and assess the situation at the end of the year. 2026 is the perfect opportunity to bring in new blood and start afresh. So, which they could be starting afresh completely because of Max Verstappen. Who knows what his whereabouts are going to be next year. Because Norris is cocky, unlike Piastri. I disagree. I don't think so. I think there's been plenty of drivers who are way more cocky than Lando. Way more cocky. And they've never got as much hate. So, because Max is a better driver. Max may be a better driver, but you need to be in the right machinery. So, to be fair, Lando has said snide comments about Hamilton only winning because of the car. Yeah, but that's all in the past. I mean, in a day, if he said something like that, you have to realise these drivers, it's like when they're in the cool-down room and they've said things. Yeah, we've all said stupid things when we were younger. And sometimes you feel a bit bitter that you haven't got the good enough car. But I think you shouldn't hold that against people and just completely hold on to a moment that they said just after a race is finished. So, Lawson is cocky, yeah. He's been humbled a bit, hasn't he? Lawson has been humbled with the Red Bull stuff, but you have to back yourself to an extent. I don't mind cockiness, to be honest with you. I don't mind cockiness. You have to back yourself. So, hey Lou, good to see you. Norris doesn't have the same will-to-will and quick thinking as Oscar. I disagree. I think we saw Lando's great will-to-will fighting last time around, holding off Piastri. If that was Lando of old, he could comfortably or easily have lost that at the first time of asking when Piastri attacked him. But no, he defended very well. Oscar did get past briefly, and he got back past him. So I do still think Piastri has showcased better will-to-will in the shorter time he's been in F1. But to say Lando isn't good in will-to-will battling is a disservice to him. But we'll see if they come up against each other again. Piastri has been very good at learning and picking stuff up very quickly and adapting. We'll see, obviously, if the same scenario arises here and they're battling will-to-will, whether Piastri will be able to make quick work of Norris this time around. So, you saw the F1 movie, made you laugh a little because of how they made DRS look. I haven't seen the movie yet, Alan. So I've heard mixed. I've heard it's okay. I mean, we've said it before. I'm going into watching the F1 movie with not a F1 kind of fans approach where I'm going to pick at every detail. Of course, there'll be things I pick up on, but it's just a sports movie. You know, I'm there for the cool looking camera angles and things like that. So, thank you, Rockefeller. Much appreciated. I always try and back my opinions up with logic. That's what I always try and do here, guys. I try and remove emotion out of it and not be reactionary. And it's okay to disagree with me. That's absolutely fine. We all have different... The world would be a very boring place if we all agreed. So I like that you don't all agree with me. And yeah, I like having discussions. And if you still disagree with my opinion, that's absolutely fine. What happened in Miami and Canada, the way Oscar took on Max, I feel Piastri edges him, Lando isn't bad. I would still say the same, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as what people make it out to be. That crash was found. Oscar ran out of battery, so his car slowed down much more quickly than expected, giving Lando a lot less time to react. I disagree. That was poor from Lando, Ultrawide. Lando just made the outright wrong decision to go on the inside in that crash with Oscar. Like he had so much. He had a considerable overdrive. He did get the good exit. He did what he wanted to do, but he chose the wrong side. I give him credit for trying to gain the inside line, which I've been very critical of his racing style in previous years. The inside line holds all the power, but that was a moment to not have the inside line. He should have gone round the outside, where he then had the inside to the second corner. So, yeah, poor racecraft from him there. But then Red Bull Ring, he was superb. Could easily... I mean, it's so easy to lock up. So easy to make a slight mistake when you're under pressure at the Red Bull Ring. So, okay, no worries. I've got her. Considering his third year for Piastri, he progressed greatly. Sadly, if he misses the opportunity at World Championship, he might not come back ever. That's the same for any driver. You have to take the opportunities when you've got them, because no one knows when you're ever going to have a good enough car to fight for a World Championship. So, yeah, this could be Lando and Oscar's only ever opportunity to win a Drivers' Championship. Many good drivers have not ended up in championship-winning cars. Normally, if you're a good enough driver, you find yourself in a car where you've got the opportunity. But, hey, Mila, I'm here. We'll get you on stream in a minute, yeah? We'll get you on stream, because Mummy's taking a call. Miriam, you're fed up with all the rumours regarding drivers leaving a team. Why not talking about things that are facts instead of what ifs to create friction and trouble? I agree. I will make mention of it kind of initially, or the first couple of times it's mentioned. But once the story goes on and on and on, I mean, there's no point commenting on it further and creating content in particular on it further until more information, solid information comes out, you know. The same thing's been going on for ages about Max and Russell. I'm not going to elaborate on it any more than I already have done, because there's no new information. Until something comes out that is worthy of talking about it, which no one is aware of, or if there's something that has been signed and sealed, then yeah. But yeah, the thing is that a lot of these websites and so forth and these creators, I mean, they've got to pay the bills, and interaction pays the bills. And look, I've seen it on my own stuff. There are two drivers in particular that drive engagement, and that is Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. And that's why you'll see a lot of content creators out there, and each to their own. They will, and websites, news websites, they will create stories and write an article about the smallest thing in relation to those two drivers, because it drives engagement, because they've got such passionate fan bases. Whereas I don't have the time to do that. and 2, I like to feel like I have a bit of integrity as well. So, but there we go. FP2 is out. Is underway, guys. FP2 is underway. Hannah, controversial opinion, but you think Max should go to Mercedes? Well, there you go. There's me saying I'm not going to talk about Max and Mercedes anymore. Look, it's a gamble whether he stays at Red Bull or moves to Mercedes, one or the other, because no one knows what's going to happen. It could be completely the wrong move, and George Russell goes, haha, I've gone to Red Bull, going the other way, and Ford create an absolute banger of an engine. No one knows. So, Cameron is a massive Max Glazer. Oh, what, Cameron CC? Yeah, I mean, he has Peter Windsor on there as well, who also says a lot of, who's always commenting about Max. I always see the headlines. Cameron's good at what he does. Can I make a slight change of topic? Do we think Charles, in the past year and half, has been actually good as he's rated? Charles has definitely not lived up to the expectations, but he also hasn't had the car. So I do contribute some of Charles Leclerc's performances due to him overdriving the car to try and get more out of a car that he knows cannot win. I'd love to see Charles Leclerc in a championship battle. We only saw it briefly at the start of 2022, and then Red Bull completely overtook Ferrari. But yeah, Charles in particular, I think a lot of his mistakes come from him overdriving the car where he's been in no man's land with that team and the machinery underneath him. So I'd love to... My reservations... Charles is clearly a very good racing driver. He does make mistakes. But I'd love to see him in another championship battle before the jury's out on him, to be honest. So... used to be a Modern Cam's channel, but his channel went... Yeah, look, people have to take... I can't remember what... Yeah, Cam used to do something a bit different, didn't he? But yeah, no, people have to look... I mean, I've had my own internal feelings and discussions about the direction of my channel, obviously around sim racing and F1. Should I make it more F1 focused? Should I split my sim racing content away into a different channel because of the algorithm and so forth? I mean, I do want this to be a career and so forth, but I'm keeping for now, I'm keeping everything on the same channel, you know. It's all motorsport related. I love sim racing. I'm never going to give that up. But yeah, it's you have to choose, don't you, at some point. So, have I driven a Ford lately? No, I haven't. I haven't watched the F1 movie in the day yet. No, we mentioned that just earlier. I'll get around to watching it at some point. I'm in no rush. If I was in a predicament of being a driver of a backmarker team, would you have the motivation to keep racing? Depends what stage of my career I'm at. So if I'm at a stage of my career where I'm like Bortoletto, obviously he's not in a backmarker team at the moment because they've made very good progress, Stake. Yes, because you can still beat your teammate. You can still showcase that you're good enough to be in F1. And if you up against an experienced teammate like Hulkenberg and you can continue to compete with them or even outperform them, then you're able to make yourself look more appealing to teams up and down the grid, further up the grid. If you're at the latter stages of your career, I imagine it's very demoralising. At the end of the day, no driver is getting into the sport to drive at the back of the F1. That they want to get into F1 to win races, win championships. No one is driving F1 to be a backmarker. So it's demoralising, yes, for any of them. But at the same time, the most important thing, especially if you're starting your career in F1, is to be on the grid. Anytime you sit, there's a limited amount of seats. Anytime you sit out of a season in F1, there's no guarantee that you're going to come back into it. So, Charles's wins in that Ferrari last year, pure magic. Yes, they were indeed. You watch a few watch-along casts from other guys and you have to say, I'm the best. Oh, thank you. You feel right at home here, like I'm welcome, even if you didn't subscribe yet. No, I appreciate it, buddy. If you haven't subscribed, what's holding you back? We're trying to hit 50,000 subscribers. Come on, you can get us one more subscriber closer. But no, look, the whole thing is that these practice sessions are an opportunity for us to all have a discussion, a friendly chat. Of course, we keep an eye out on what's happening out on track as Hamilton is at the top of the timing screens again, ladies and gentlemen, as Charles Leclerc makes it a 1-2 at the moment for the Ferrari in the early stages of this FP2. But yeah, I love chatting F1. I can talk for hours about F1. That's why the watch-alongs always go on longer after the sessions end. And we've built a great community here. So that's what it is all about. And as I said, you can support who you want to support here as long as you are fair and respectful. We can have disagreements. But yeah, as long as you're fair and respectful, that's what matters. And that's why we've got some brilliant mods who keep the channel and keep the chat in check and ensure that it's a nice place to be around. So... some people, yeah, some channels do that, Ben, for sure. In relation, there's channels out there on YouTube who have got considerably more subscribers than I have. They get considerably more views because they jump on any little bit of rumour that comes from Reddit, as an example, or anything they see on Twitter. And look, if that's how they need to pay the bills and so forth, and that's their approach to content creation, like, that's fair play to them in the day if that's how they want to do things. But for me personally, that's not how I go about things, and I like to think in the long term, that will benefit me, being authentic and logical and stuff, you know. It's why you guys, as I say, every stream, as Lewis Hamilton's transponders just disappeared there. He is making his way out there, guys. Do not fear. Lewis Hamilton is okay, as is Kimi Antonelli. For some reason, their transponders disappeared there. There seems to be a signal issue as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's. Once you guys seem to find the channel, you seem to stick around. The returning viewership figures are very, very high, and that's important on YouTube. It's not all about subscriber count. It's about consistency. So. You've got so used to me. You tried watching actual commentary for Sky Sports and couldn't stand it back on YouTube after the first 5 minutes. Appreciate it. The most difficult it's a difficult part of any race is Lance Stroll. I mentioned this last time, Sid. I did. Lance Stroll is terrible when it comes to being lapped. Absolutely terrible. He has a lack of spatial awareness anyway when it comes to racing, it seems. But even more so when it comes to lap traffic or being lapped. So. Cheers, Matt. Much appreciated. Verstappen to Mercedes and Leclerc to Red Bull would be a banger. Oh, imagine that. What? And then George Russell to Ferrari. And then you got a Lewis Hamilton and George Russell partnership again. Ooh. Behrman and Lawson, no further investigation. I did watch that. Liam Lawson very close to going into the back of Ollie Behrman, but no further investigation there. Very high-speed circuit, of course, at Silverstone. There are areas where you need to be careful of the approach. The approach speeds, the closing distances are very dramatic here. But something to keep an eye on in this session, guys. So let's actually talk about the session out on track, shall we? Rather than how much you all love me. I mean, we can go on, but let's actually just concentrate on the F1 for a moment, guys. Yeah, so this session, it is the most representative session of the weekend because qualifying is in the afternoon as well as the race. So similar times. Obviously, the weather can be very different when it comes to tomorrow and Sunday, as it may be predicted. But look, something that was very interesting about Ferrari, and thank you to Connor, if you're listening, Connor, and he detailed that it seemed that unless there was a considerable amount of fuel on board the McLaren, the Ferraris actually looked to have, obviously the timings showcased it, but the acceleration speeds and the top speeds in particular for Hamilton and Leclerc compared to the McLarens did seem to indicate that the Ferraris may be on pace with the McLarens. Now, I do expect that there are improvements to be made from that McLaren side, but the improvements may not be as dramatic as what we may think. It may be a lot closer between the Ferraris and the McLarens. And never rule out the Mercedes as well. But yeah, interesting to see how the McLarens get on in this session. Now, they're all on the medium tyres at the moment, except from Behrman and Ocon, who are on the hards. We will see performance runs at some stage in this session because it is representative, normally around the halfway mark. So as soon as we start to see soft tyres on, that's when we'll properly pay attention, and we should get an idea of the pecking order heading into this weekend. So, Maxi better not move out. What if Red Bull upgrades? After how painful that would be. Yeah, I mean, look, they've got updates on the car. Just because you bring updates, it doesn't mean that they work. That's the thing. They don't always have the desired effect. Sometimes updates can be downgrades. So, yeah, until they're proven to work, that's only when you can call them an upgrade. So, yeah, updates at the moment for Max Verstappen. He does have a brand new floor on that Red Bull car. It was there on the car in Red Bull. The Red Bull Ring, but of course he got taken out lap 1, so they don't know how that would have played out in a race. And then Yuki Tsunoda does not have the updates on his car this weekend. As has been the case for the majority of this season, all the updates go to Max's car first. So. Are the McLarens quick in the rain? They are, Georgian, yes. Yeah, so the McLarens generally run a bit more higher downforce compared to everyone else because they've had so much dominant pace in the corners with their tyre management and so forth. So, yeah, they'll be very good in the rain, for sure. And Oscar and Lando are very good in the rain. I mean, look at how they drove in Australia as well. Obviously, Max was there and looking very good with them as well, but I think that Red Bull is a very different car to what that McLaren is now. Very, obviously, we're halfway point in the season now. Oh, Hadjar fastest 27.0. RB's looking good, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed FP1. They were actually around the same pace as what Max Verstappen was in that Red Bull, as Hamilton improves again. So, we'll get you on stream in a minute, yeah? Going to be my co-commentator? Yeah, we'll grab you in a minute. Nobody has any idea of complete resizing on the car will go next year. Changing teams to 2026 is pointless pretty much across the grid. To an extent, Billy, unless there's like significant relationship breakdowns behind the scenes, which could always be the case, whether it be at Mercedes, whether it be at Red Bull or whoever. Sometimes regardless of regulations, you can see the direction that a team is headed in, from personnel leaving, management, the way the team's being managed, a lot more than obviously what we as fans from the outside can see. So maybe that's playing into the Max Verstappen's camp at the moment, so hence why he's got, I mean, ultimately he's still got a contract, so he doesn't need to even comment on the negotiations and any contract talks because he's still got 3 years left on his contract. So really he doesn't have to answer any question about his future. So is it raining on race day, Lee? There seems to be rain in the air. We're not sure how much, though. So Max has been stopping on his floor so much with lack of winning, they had to change the floor. Yuki probably regrets taking the bump up to the big team. The V-Carb seems to be a better car. I mean, he probably does now, but I think, look, there's still a long season ahead for Yuki to try and get on top of this car if he can. If he can turn it around and start getting that car into Q3 regularly, then it looks so much better on him and everyone will forget his struggles at the start of the season. But yeah, I mean, look, he's going green in the first sector, green in the second. So, I mean, it's not difficult because his fastest lap is a 1:29 at the moment, 2 seconds off. But let's keep an eye on Yuki. 13th fastest in the sector 1 and then 16th fastest in the second sector. He's coming through the last couple of corners now. And he has done a 1:28.4, so not ideal. Of course, he missed out on FP1 because Arvid Lindblad was in the car, so he is still trying to pick up the pace. But yeah, Q1 out last time around in the Red Bull Ring, and then lapped twice. I think it was the only car to be lapped twice when it came to the Red Bull Ring as well. So why do I not commentate from the track at my home GP? Because it's too expensive, quite far away. I say quite far away. It's about 2.5 hour drive for me. 2 hour drive. But yeah, just too expensive really to Silverstone now these days. So do I think McLaren can keep their domination onto the new era of regulations? Yes. If it all depends on the engine. If Mercedes is the strongest engine, then yes, I think they can definitely still be fighting for championships. They've clearly got a good handle on the aero package for obviously this set of regulations, and no doubt they'll be strong in that department come 2026, but it's all about the engine really. If the Mercedes is good, then yeah, they should be up there, but if it's not, then they're going to struggle regardless of how good the aero is. So without Max, arguably the Red Bull has a worse car than the RB now. I agree, yeah. The Red Bull's still a quicker car, but it's so difficult to get in that narrow window. Whereas the RB car is a much more solid car. It's it is slower, but it's a more solid car. So when that Red Bull is really difficult to drive, it just bleeds time everywhere. Whereas the Red Bull is just a lot more stable. So, yeah, just like everything in the UK, Lee, everything is super expensive, unfortunately, in the UK. And that comes to our sporting events as well. Any sporting event is super expensive. It's a real shame, and F1 is probably the most expensive. So, yeah, I mean, grandstand tickets are a fortune. And I kind of... I mean, I'm not... Maybe next year, I say it every year, but I never get around to it. Maybe next year I'll think about going to the practice sessions. But I'm not fussed about going to a race day. My viewing experience of watching F1 is this, watching the data and so forth. I don't need to be there on race day, to be honest with you. I'd like to just watch the cars go around track and just see what they're like, as I've never done that before. So, tax rises come out of the next budget too. Yeah, I know. Yeah, unfortunately, the UK is one of the most expensive places to live in the world. So it's not ideal. Oh, we have a yellow flag. Carlos Sainz off. We have Carlos Sainz off at the exit of Luffield. And, well, it's a yellow. It's a double yellow. And has he spun the car here, Carlos Sainz? Of course, Williams have been going for the ringer recently with their drivers and their cars failing to make it to the end and even starting race day. And Sainz has got going again. So he has kept it out of the barrier. He has kept it out of the barrier. So, waiting to watch a replay to see exactly what he's done. He's most likely done a Sebastian Vettel, if you remember. Maybe a little bit too heavy on throttle. So, yeah, he had just spun the car. He was on the racing line on the exit of Luffield there. And just waiting to see. Did he dip a wheel in the gravel? Potentially. Looks like there's skid marks there from the tyres. He is okay. Thankfully for Williams, not more damage, but they have to repair. Waiting to see the replay. Oh. Come on, replay. They take so long to show a replay now these days. So, yeah, here he is. So, making his way through Brooklands. He had a bit of a snap, actually, through Luffield. He's got a bit of dirty air from a Haas in front. And, oh, my goodness. Gracious me. Carlos Sainz nearly went into the back of Lewis Hamilton. Sorry, it was Lewis Hamilton's car in front of him. So he's already had a bit of a spike in the temperature of the tyres as he had a wiggle through the entry of Brooklands. And then as he's making his way through Luffield and he's getting on power, he didn't even make it to the exit before the car started to go round. And he really had to slam on the brakes before he started to approach Lewis Hamilton's car. So if he hadn't braked his car... So if he hadn't braked harshly as he did, he would have gone into the back of Lewis Hamilton. So, right, little one's talking so much at the moment. Let me go grab her. Charles Leclerc fastest in the middle sector and fastest overall. The two Ferraris. Look at that, top three separated by less than half a tenth. Come on. I'll be a bit quieter here. Make a lot of noise. There we go. Say hello, everyone. You got a booger there. Say hello. Hello. Oh, right. Lots of drivers in the pit lane, guys. Lots of drivers in the pit lane. So, maybe we're going to see some push laps a bit earlier than expected. Only 40 minutes remaining now. Sainz is saying, can you check if it was a wind gust or if it was dirty air? We're thinking it was a gust of wind, 20 kilometres an hour as he was on the curb. Maybe that's what caught him out then, yes. So Silverstone, very windy round here. You can see that measurement at the top of your screen there. No, that's Daddy's headphone. You can't get Daddy's headphone. No, it's Daddy's headphone. Little one will be insulting Sainz for almost wrecking Hamilton. Hard to anticipate car battles on the live car coverage. Data watching is the way. Yeah, I mean, you don't get a full picture, do you? You don't get a full picture of the race. That's what I mean. I don't even watch races primarily for the TV coverage anymore. So because I feel like you just miss the whole picture, especially when it comes to strategy as well. You can see the gaps and you can see the battles unfolding. So, but Hamilton fastest in the first sector. Hamilton on it here in this Ferrari. Trust Ferrari to turn up at potentially Silverstone. Of course, we're still yet to see proper push laps here. 34.8 for Lewis Hamilton in that middle sector. 2 tenths down on his, or 1 tenth and a half down on his teammate in the middle sector, but the first sector considerably faster. Could be a purple lap here for Lewis, all dependent, of course, on this last sector. He's made his way through Stowe, heading into Club here. Let's see how he goes. Is it possible? What do I think of Laguna Seca for F1? As you just said there, you answered your own question. Impossible, as Lewis did indeed go quicker, a 26.592 there. Oh, he's on it, isn't he? He's on it. But is this just getting all of our hopes up? Have they turned the engine up? Is there something occurring with the McLarens? Have they not shown their full hand yet? We will see. Bringing in the baby to get more subscribers. This is just what co-parenting is. Mrs. is working and is on a work call, and yeah. Is she in that biting phase yet? Yeah, she's fully going through that. So she's all good. Let's give you your toy. Come on. Give a little toy car. Ferrari red. I feel like F1 cars get stuck on the corkscrew. Yeah, they wouldn't. They'd massive. They'd break their front wings. Telling you this championship is turning around when you show these streams to her in 15 years. That's good, yeah. No, this championship is most definitely not turning around. Look, we're still yet to see the full pace of that McLaren. Lots of drivers, maybe they're taking fuel out of the car. We're going to get some, or maybe some setup changes. No doubt some softs plonked on there as Behrman and Hamilton. And there we go. George Russell. No, let's not bang that because people have headphones in. George Russell on the soft compound tyre. Antonelli on the soft compound tyre. Here we go, guys. Performance runs incoming. God teach him young. Yeah, definitely. Hey, Stefano. Give her the steering wheel. You stick it by your words at Ferrari's fast this week. I think you may be right, Connor. I think you may be right. We'll see. We'll see now. Will we see McLaren potentially turn up their engines a bit? Or is it fuel load, as we mentioned? Let's see. I mean, McLaren aren't going to be the dominant force they are at every single race circuit, that's for sure. I mean, Ferrari have said that they're much better in the medium to high speed corners. You would suspect the same of the Red Bull as well, but Max is truly struggling on that on that Red Bull at the moment. So, how you seeing? Good to see you. Ferrari Hamilton in that first sector are crazy this week, yeah. And the thing is, that's going to make it difficult for them to be overtaken as well, isn't it? If they're very quick in that first sector, with the dirty air here, as we know, being very prevalent. Right, George Russell. It's a long out lap here, of course. Don't want to don't want to go too quickly on your out lap because you will just take too much out of the tyres. No. We're not. As I said, people have got headphones in. We don't want to do that. So, but big thank you guys for everyone tuning in. As always, if you can hit that like and subscribe button. We are trying to get to 50,000 subs this weekend. Can we do it? Right, let's stay on board. Let's keep on board with George Russell at the moment, shall we? As he makes his way through the first corner, flat out here as he makes his way up into turn 3. Esteban Ocon and Alex Albon will have to be careful to stay out of his way. Very easy to lock up the front right as he makes his way into the tight left-hander of turn 4. I will remind myself of calling the names later on. I always forget what that section's called as he makes his way down into Brooklands. Let's see how he fares here. Of course, we saw Carlos Sainz get caught out by a gust of wind. No such case this time around, as the wind is around 10 kilometres an hour. Makes his way through Luffield, very long right-hander, and there we go, a 28.008, and that's only a tenth quicker than Lewis Hamilton on the mediums, so not particularly a quick first sector for George Russell on the grippier soft compound tyre, as his teammate has gone even quicker. He's put a tenth on his teammate there, so that's a bit more like it from Kimi Antonelli, what I'd expect improvement-wise to be made on the softs. 2 tenths up on Lewis Hamilton's fastest first sector there as he makes his way through Magnussen, Beckett's George Russell back down the is it Wellington Straight, isn't it? The last Hangar Straight, sorry. Which one's Wellington? Which one's Hangar? As he makes his way into Stowe Corner. This poor commentator here not doing his research on what the actual corner names are. Down into the last couple of corners. Signs will be investigated after the session involvement there. And, well, let's see. And it's fastest lap at 26.5. But that's nowhere near quick enough, really, when you consider what Hamilton was able to set there. Lando Norris is still on a set of mediums, by the way. He's just doing some long runs at the moment. Kimi Antonelli could be going quicker than his teammate. He's considerably up on his teammate. Yes, a 26.3. Ooh, Antonelli likes it here. Maybe a strong performance on Antonelli here this weekend. He won in dominating fashion last year in the F2 in changeable conditions. So she is relaxed and she's not relaxed. She's very excitable at the moment. Ow. She's very excitable. Lots of flapping limbs that you can't see on camera right now. Where is Kops on the track, Gerald? Kops Corner is turn 9, which Nico Hulkenberg just made his way through. How will Haas fare this weekend? Hadjar going nicely as well. He's improving. It'd be interesting to see if you try a lap reverse spa in an F1 car in a sim. People have done that. So Isaac Hadjar went third fastest there with a fastest last sector from the RB driver. Interesting. The Oscar Piastri still in the pit lane. Lando Norris is doing some long run data by the looks of it. Mila. It's surprising and scary how Flavio... No. Let go of that. Right, I'm going to have to put you back down. You're flapping and grabbing things that you shouldn't be grabbing right now. Can Lewis make it 10 wins? Potentially. We'll keep an eye on them. Let's put you down. Right. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Hang on. No, don't stop the stream. Oh, there we go. She can see me. She's very content now. Thank you, Davina. I'm currently on 2 months paternity leave. My work is I'm very fortunate that my work is very supportive of parents. And yeah, Mrs. has gone back to work and I'm the one being daddy daycare at the moment. So, but no, I'm enjoying it in my first week. But Mrs. is at home today, but work from home. So yeah, on a call, hence why she made a brief appearance earlier and now. But right, Ferraris. Let's have a look, guys. Ferraris. Lewis Hamilton is on a push lap, as is Charles Leclerc. Let's see how they fare at 27.9. Ooh, Charles Leclerc fastest in the first sector, but only just by a couple of 0.02 of a second from his teammate there. From Antonelli. So let's keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton. Let's see how he fares on this push lap. What is his first sector time as he makes his way down Brooklands into turn 6? And his first sector time is a 28.0, so lost about a 10th there. Really, not the best first sector from Lewis Hamilton, only 8th fastest. So lost a bit of time, not entirely sure where that was. No doubt probably under braking, maybe a little bit wide into turn 4. Charles Leclerc making his way down towards Stowe Corner though, turn 15. Fastest again, 34.5 for Charles Leclerc, so the Ferraris definitely look to be on it. And Lewis Hamilton has backed out. I think he got caught out by Carlos Sainz there as he went through Copse Corner, and the dirty air of Carlos Sainz has unfortunately put the push lap of Lewis Hamilton's lap in jeopardy there. So it's a shame for us fans wanting to see how quick that Ferrari can go. But we saw Charles Leclerc show us a 26.2 there. That's a good lap from him. But Oscar Piastri, quickest in the first sector, 27.867. That is half a tenth quicker than that of Charles Leclerc in the first sector. Lando Norris is now on an out lap, so we'll see how he fares. Let's see how Oscar Piastri fares in that McLaren. Very pacey for the middle sectors. They've got a little bit more downforce on that car, the McLarens and everyone else. So here we go through Maggots and Beckett's. And it's a 34.6. So he's lost nearly 2 temps on Charles Leclerc in the middle sector there, Oscar Piastri. But how will he fare through Stowe corner in the last sector? Lewis Hamilton moves out of his way. We know that the McLaren is very good in low-speed corners, which he is navigating his way through now as he makes his way through Club Corner. Here we go through turn 18 across the finish line. Can Oscar Piastri go to the top of the timing screens? He cannot. Oh, interesting. Let's see how Lando fares, shall we? Lewis Hamilton is going to have to do another cool-down lap on this set of soft compound tyres before he can have another opportunity. He is waiting for Lando to make his way past him as he heads down into turn 1. Hopefully Lewis is completely out of the way for Lando so we can see how quick it is in his hands. Can I commentate as a driver? Can I commentate a driver as they run for a lap, calling out the name of the corners? Yeah, I need to just drum up on my corner names at Silverstone, to be honest with you. It's more so the straights that I don't know, and some of the slow corners, but I know the majority of the corners as Lando is making his way down into Brooklands turn 6, then Luffield of turn 7, and well, 27.8 fastest first sector there for Lando. Those McLarens, they were slow in that first sector in FP1. Seems to be that they've picked up the pace, but can they maintain that pace throughout the duration of the lap? We saw Oscar Piastri have a bit of a slow middle sector in relation to Charles Leclerc, and he wasn't able to recover it in the last sector as he makes his way through Copse Corner and then Maggots and Beckett's. A brilliant section of corners here at Silverstone, some of the best in the world. Now he makes his way down the Hanger Straight, I believe it is. Hanger Straight is the back straight, Wellington Straight is the middle one, as Norris goes fastest in the middle sector, sticking a 10th nearly on Lando, on Leclerc in the middle sector. So he's about, at the moment, 2 temps up, really, Lando Norris, on that of Charles Leclerc, as he makes his way into the last sector through Stowe Corner. Sorry, he's already made his way through Stowe Corner, through Club, and Lando goes fastest, a 25.8, and boom, there we go. Pole position of last year, that is a 25.8. That is pole position of last year, and it's only going to get quicker from there. Only going to get quicker from there. That is 4 temps pretty much on Charles Leclerc there, a 25.8 compared to a 26.2 of Charles Leclerc. But we don't know what Lewis can do. We don't know what Lewis can do. He had a bit of a slow first sector last time out, but he is still on that very slow second out lap, so we'll see if he can get on. But what was Leclerc saying on the radio? I didn't hear it, actually, to be fair. Has anyone been to the Mexican Grand Prix? Was going to go to COTA, but America's in a unique situation right now. Yeah, that is for sure. No, never been to the Mexican Grand Prix. George Russell he's gone quicker in the middle sector, interestingly, George Russell. Green for him, but still 3 temps off of Lando's time. Green in the last sector as well, but his first sector slowed him down a little bit. Max Verstappen on his push lap, a 26.6. Sorry, what? 8 temps back. 8 temps back. Right, let's keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton, shall we? He's going for that second push lap. He got interrupted last time around due to picking up the dirty air of Carlos Sainz ahead. So let's see how he fares, making his way through turn 4, obviously the tight, twisty section of Sector 1. He'll be crossing that sector line as he makes his way down into turn 6, Brooklands Corner. But there is a bit of traffic up ahead of him. And will his lap time be interrupted again? But it's a very quick first sector, a 27.8. He's only second to the McLarens, who also did 27.8. So he's only a couple of hundredths behind. So hopefully he hasn't been hampered here by the dirty air, and we will get a good push lap here from Lewis Hamilton. George Russell seems to be far enough up ahead for Lewis to still keep it within track limits, hopefully, as he makes his way through turn 10. George Russell does back out of the way, thankfully, into Maggots and Beckett's, but he is going to be picking up the dirty air from the McLaren and his own teammate up ahead, making his way down the back straight, the Hanger Straight, 34.6 from him. Third fastest, 2 temps off of Lando in that middle sector. Yes, we're on board with Lewis Hamilton as he makes his way through Stowe Corner, down into the last couple of corners here, 16, 17 and 18 into Club. Well, he's going to be a bit off of Lando's pace unless he really makes up time in the last sector, but Lando was quickest at 23.5 and 3 temps off. Not bad, not bad, considering he also picked up some dirty air from those in front of him, from Maggots and Beckett, so she's absolutely fine. She's just having a whale of a time down there. Those are happy groans and stuff at the moment, so... Oh dear, right, yes, so mum's back now. Mum's back to keep her occupied. But she'll still probably be as loud as anything. But yeah, there we go. So Lewis Hamilton, really, the Ferraris are there. The Ferraris are there. Lando, though, as we expected. It'll be interesting to see if Lewis could have maybe put a good push lap in on his first attempt. The second attempt was good, but normally at Silverstone, you would expect that first push lap to be quicker because you do put a lot of energy into the tyres. So even if he did that first push, or he did a push lap pretty much for half a lap first time around, that would have taken some life out of his tyres. So yeah, that Ferrari though looks good to push the McLarens this weekend, but when it comes to qualifying tomorrow, I still think the McLarens have got the edge. So Lando faster than last year pole time. Is he officially faster than it? I know he's on the same region. It was a 25.8 last time around. These cars are around a second quicker, aren't they, when it comes to pole position. As Charles Leclerc has just pumped in a 34.396 in the middle sector. Where did that come from? Charles Leclerc improving here on this second push lap. He's got clean air. That's key. As he goes second fastest, 26.0. See, that's how influential clean air is at Silverstone, guys, and just in F1 in general. Lewis Hamilton had that dirty air, Piastri and his own teammate in the middle sector through Maggots and Beckett's that he would have been picking up a bit of dirty air from, and especially when you've got those quick change of directions through the middle sector, that is going to be detrimental to you. So Charles Leclerc had a bit of cleaner air there and improved significantly in that middle sector. Right, Norris is going again. Let's keep an eye on Lando Norris, shall we? Lando Norris is pushing again. Let's see if he can improve on a second one. Abbey, Farm Curve, Village, The Loop, Aintree, Wellington Straight, Brooklands, Luffield, Woodcote, Pitt Straight, Cops, Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, Hanger Straight, Stowe, Val, Club, Hamilton Straight. There we go. Val's the one I always miss. And Abbey, yeah. Pole time last year was a 28.19. Okay, cool. Right, so Lando Norris a 28.2, so no, a bit slower. 4 tenths slower in particular through that first sector on this second push lap there. So, yeah, understandably, on that second push lap, the McLaren not as quick. So, Alpine seem to be absolutely nowhere so far this weekend. Really sucks for Gasly. You say that, though. You do say that. I thought the same at Red Bull Ring. Austria, last time out, and then Gasly stuck it into Q3. So, yeah, you never truly know with Alpine, to be completely honest with you. Right, Max Verstappen is on a cool-down lap again at the moment. We'll see if he's able to improve, but he does seem to be struggling in that Red Bull at the moment. Max is not even trying now. He is trying, Helter. Max is definitely trying. He doesn't want to be down in 9th place, but at the moment, that Red Bull is just not to his liking at all. So it seems to be going backwards rather than going forwards in their performance and with their updates and so forth. Do I think Max will retire before he even gives Mercedes a try? Well, Max actually came out with an interview this week, or I saw comments from him yesterday talking about that. They were like, do you think you'll take a sabbatical? And he actually came out and said, no, what I want to do, he actually confirmed that he'll be in F1 for the foreseeable. And what he wants to do is to try and figure out how to make time for other motorsport series. So, yeah, he still has his eye on doing, of course, endurance races and so forth. But he says he's going to be sticking around in F1, which is the first time we have heard that from him in quite some time, because people have always thought that Max would end up not being in F1 for much longer if things weren't kind of going his way. But there we go. A good first sector for Max there at 27.898. I think he did pick up a cheeky little toe from Gasly and Lando Norris as he made his way down into turn 6, Brooklands there. But let's see if he can utilise that slipstream that he got and keep the pace up for the middle sector. Has that Red Bull got that change of direction and turning into those corners that Max Verstappen wants and that he was complaining about, of course, earlier on in FP1? And, well, no, because that middle sector is a PB for him, a 34.772, but it's 7th fastest and 3 tenths off of that of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. So it's not going to be purple here, as we haven't seen any purples, but it is going to be an improvement for Max. But by how much? Half a second. Ooh, half a second for Max Verstappen off of Lando Norris at the moment. That's still 3 tenths off of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. That's not good. Oscar Piastri, do suspect there is more time in there for Oscar as well. So he would have done it in 2022, 23. Max was so dominant he could afford to miss a race and still win the World Driver Championship. That's true. That's true. Once you're done with main quest, one always look to completing side quests. Lots and lots of media talk about Max possibly. Yeah, I know, Alan. We're not going to waste too much time of speaking about Max's whereabouts, because until there's anything else that comes out of it, you're just repeating the same information over and over again that has already been spoken about to death. So, yeah, no need to talk about it really anymore until there's more further information or brand new information that comes to light, which there currently isn't at the moment. So, who do I think will win this year's championship, Afan? Do you know what? I generally don't know. However, my thought process is this. If Lando cuts out the mistakes like we saw at Red Bull Ring, and he has the sort of weekend, if he has weekends like he did at the Red Bull Ring on the regular, rather than that being kind of the outlier, he will win this championship. I still think he has, at this stage in their careers, I still think he's the slightly quicker driver than Piastri. However, Piastri is still super quick, but he is more consistent. And that's why he has been able to make the turnaround in the deficit on Lando, going from 20 points behind to being 22 points ahead. It's now 15. So I do still think this championship is in Lando's hands, if he can cut out those mistakes. But with a 24 race season like we have, with 6 sprint races, consistency is so key, and the high level performance that Piastri is maintaining at the moment is super difficult to beat. And just being quick isn't the be all and end all. Piastri at the moment hasn't qualified lower than 4th. One of those times he converted that into a race win in Miami. Still was off the pace of Norris all weekend last time around, but still pushed him and competed for that race win. So it's going to go down to the wire, and I really hope it does for us fans, because we want to get to Abu Dhabi, where at least there's an opportunity of different permutations of someone being able to win the race. Win the championship. You think that McLaren's will take pole anyway because of their superiority? However, this is going to be a very tight race. Yeah, the race is going to be very interesting, especially if there's intermittent weather as well. How the heck we not talked about the pick-me girl of the sport in a while? Has he stopped being the dictator of the sport? Who are you talking about? Mohammed Ben Sulayem? No, he's still there. He'll be there come Sunday. Of course he will be. Equally, Lando was fortunate that Gasly ruined quali last weekend, where whenever Lando has some unlucky weekend, it's mainly because of his own doing. Yeah, I mean, look, I still don't think Piastri would have out-qualified and got pole position on Lando. That lap time from Lando was superb, a 1:03.9, and he always had about a tenth and a half on his teammate throughout every session, and I think that was still going to be the case when you looked at their first run in Q3 as well. The gap was similar to that margin, so Piastri probably would have improved, but Norris also significantly improved. But yeah, it would have been at least those two starting on the front row, and who knows what could have happened. Oscar is generally weak in closed circuits compared to Lando. I wouldn't say he's weak. I would say that he's just doesn't quite have the pace as much pace as Lando when it comes to obviously those sort of circuits. Would love to see a last race 1 point difference, making it interesting. It would be very interesting to see. Do you know what I'd love? I mean, this would be ideal, wouldn't it? Similar to obviously what happened in 21. Not the ending, of course, but whoever wins the race wins the championship, you know? There's a scenario where we go into the last race of the season. Whoever wins the race wins the championship. That would be the best case scenario, wouldn't it? So, no one cares about Max. Plenty of people still do care about Max. I've been saying this about McLaren and said one thing with Lewis, and you never read the whole thing. What's that? If Hamilton retires in about 2 years, who do I think will be in the second seat at Ferrari? Ollie Behrman. Red Bull is not the second fastest car. No, they're not. They're not at the moment. So, but yes, if you're just tuning in, guys, we have had some performance runs. We have 15 minutes remaining of this FP2 session. And, well, Lando Norris set the fastest lap quicker, officially quicker, only by a few hundredths than that of pole position of last year. We have seen these cars be around a second quicker when it comes to the eventual pole position and qualifying to the previous season. And, well, we have already in FP2 hit and beaten that pole position of last year, so expect the same tomorrow. Charles Leclerc P2 with Hamilton P3 at the moment. Both of the Ferraris look pretty quick. Both of their times were set on second push laps, not their first push laps, so maybe some improvements with some cleaner air come Saturday tomorrow in Q3. It could be a lot closer for pole position. Oscar Piastri only got one opportunity at a push lap, so yeah, his lap time is some way off of Lando's, but expect improvements from him. Verstappen looks to be struggling in that Red Bull at the moment, just doesn't seem to have the pace. And then as we make our way further down, Lance Stroll up there in P7. I'm not expecting Lance Stroll to get into Q3 come tomorrow because he always goes out in Q1 whenever I think he may make some progression. But the RBs also look pretty dab handy as well there in P9 and P10. So no, Max is not going to be at McLaren next year, Rob Sticks, no. Don't buy it, don't buy it. Although McLaren did approach Max Verstappen's camp, apparently, and Max Verstappen's camp said this is how much it will cost you. And then literally a week later, they extended Oscar Piastri's contract. So they did approach him. Last race winner to win World Drivers' Championship would be possible if the gap is 7 points or smaller. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what would be ideal, Raven. Like, you want it to be... Like, it's not a case of, like, Piastri can just coast. Like, let's say, or Norris. Piastri is leading at the moment. The reason I said Piastri is because he's leading. But where either of them are, like, they're happy to just kind of coast in P2, you know, to the end. But yeah, hopefully there's less than a race win separating the two of them when it comes to the last race of the season. And it's, yeah, winner takes all, basically. Channel 4's tyres are not updating. Well, here we are. We have the tyres here. Yeah, drivers back on the medium compound tyres. Not a lot of hards yet to see the hard compound tyre used by the top teams. So no doubt that is a tyre of choice for this weekend. We are a step softer, C2, C3, C4 this year. So we're not at the very top end of the compound range when it comes to hardness. So yeah, that could make the strategy interesting if the conditions are dry come Sunday. What's my favourite line through turn 7? It's I quite like the line where you're able to go a bit deeper into, so you go a bit wider and you straighten out the exit through turn 7. Now, when it comes to sim racing, it doesn't really translate that way because the grip is always on the inside line. But in real life, that's not how it works. There's sometimes more grip kind of to the outside of the corner more so than there is on the inside. But yeah, I quite like not having to keep it as tight as possible through Luffield turn 7 in the sim, but unfortunately it's the quickest way in the sim. In real life, yeah, you can utilise a bit more of a wider line and straighten out your exit to get on throttle earlier. But it just depends where the grip is, so... Did I get along to McLaren's live gig in Trafalgar Square? I tried to, Jimmy. Yeah, I tried to. Unfortunately, it was too busy. I went with Little One, and I did queue up for quite some time, and it was kind of like one in when it started to move, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be in here sooner rather than later. And then they started to do like one in, one out, and I just went, oh, do you know what? It's too busy for Little One with the pram, and it looked like a good event. But even people complained about the crowd control inside. Maybe next year, if they do something again in the future, it might be ticketed. But it looked to be successful. Massively popular as well. So F1, as we spoke about it in FP1, F1 has massively grown and it's no longer a niche sport. So let's have a look at the times now on heavy fuel loads. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Charles Leclerc, 31.6 last time around. Hamilton, 32.5. Lando Norris, how's he faring? So he's on, last lap was an 8 minute 28, so that was not one to take into consideration. So You hate we're going 3 weeks off next, then 2 GPs, then another 4 week off again. I know, it's a big gap, isn't it? Big gap. Every fan base, I mean, every driver has, unfortunately, a toxic side to their fan bases. And you have a vocal minority, Karen. Where do I get my data? This is from Multiviewer, Bean. Multiviewer. There were loads of people dressed in McLaren gear, even way out in the suburbs of Zone 5, guy. Yeah, I know, it was cool to see. Yeah, it was cool to see. Spotted them from a mile away, of course, in their papaya. But Ocon and Behrman on the hard compound tyre, by the way. So difference in approaches for strategies this weekend with the hard compound tyre being used when it comes to the teams lower down the midfield. What are they potentially expecting for the weather this weekend? What do they think they're going to do? Are they going to do 1 stop? Are they going to try and do a 2 stop? Is there potentially a 3 stop? Sometimes you see an extra stop being taken here at Silverstone because of the nature of the circuit, the high loads. We're still not entirely sure how these tyres are going to hold out when it comes to full fuel loads and the race on Sunday. So, yeah. You're not allowed to use F1 TV directly, Alexis. So... No, I didn't code this. No, this is someone else is doing. I am a Patreon to them as a thank you for them doing this. Max is a great driver, but the fact is he surrounds himself with Marco and Joss, make it impossible. Yeah, I see that. I mean, that's primarily, I think, one of the reasons I'm not particularly... why I haven't taken to Max so much, I guess. I do think he's a product of his environment. I've said this before. I think surrounding himself around Horner, Marco, and then obviously his old man as well. It just seems like that he's a different person when he's kind of maybe around them in an F1 and stuff, influenced by them as kind of human nature is. And then when he's online, he's a very different person. Of course, people who have had experiences with him firsthand have said like he's a lovely guy. So, yeah. And sometimes the reason why I have issues with Max, I guess, with the way that he goes driving is because, sometimes he resorts to tactics that I don't like, but I don't think he really needs to implement because he's a quick enough driver to do so. And I think he'd gain a lot more fans if he stopped doing those sort of things. But, look, he's a 4-time world champion and I'm not. Where do I think the Ferraris will finish in the driver's standings, Afan? Well, at the moment, what is it? Lewis and Charles are like, what, 5th and 7th or something and 6th. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll make improvements. You just don't know with the development. You don't know how... I still think George Russell will probably finish 3rd. I don't see Charles and Lewis gaining too much ground on Max. And this is a considerable fall-off in that Red Bull's pace, which is not out of the realms of possibility, but I still see it being a bit unlikely that they'll catch Verstappen and George. So probably where they are, to be honest. High chance of rain on Saturday and Sunday, typical British weather, but the weather forecasters have been wrong on so many occasions. Yeah, the forecast I looked at, Johnny, looked like it was around 20% chance. So Lewis Hamilton back into the pit lane, by the way, on his set of medium compound tyres. Charles Leclerc, 3 tenths off of Norris last lap, by the way, in relation to just some higher fuel runs here or some long runs at the end. It does seem like Norris on that medium, a little bit better than that of Charles Leclerc. Is Lewis Hamilton's back out on a set of used softs now? That same set of softs that he did those push laps on. Oscar Piastri, a 32.4 for him. Oscar seems to be just a little bit off the pace of Lando. It seems to be a bit similar to what we saw at the Red Bull Ring. He seems to be just at the moment around a tenth to 2 tenths off of the pace of his teammate from what I'm witnessing at the moment. We'll see if that continues, of course, tomorrow. I think they're running different downforce configurations unless they altered that for FP2. But in FP1, they were definitely running different downforce configurations, so maybe that's playing a factor. Of course, they don't have to go in the same direction with setup. It's driver preference, of course. I think Max will be in 6th or 7th after quali tomorrow. I mean, it does look like that a top 5 start for him tomorrow will be a pretty good start. If he can get himself onto the second row, and of course, people will say, never rule out Max, but you have to look at the data. You have to look at what the lap times you're seeing, and also the feedback you're getting from Max Verstappen on the radio as well. We saw this at the Red Bull Ring. Would Max have been able to have qualified higher than where he started at the Red Bull Ring? Maybe. But Silverstone, of course, is a much longer track as well. It's not as short as the Red Bull Ring. Very different circuit. So we'll see. But that push lap, those couple of push laps that we saw from him in the first instance in this session were not good. Not good, really. And they were assisted from a toe down from turn 5 to turn 6 as well. So a little bit of help there. Maybe could even be P6 right now. Slower than Kimi Antonelli. But we'll see. What is this lap time from... So that's a bit better from Oscar Piastri last time around, by the way. 32.3 compared to Lando's 32.2. So that's better. The previous lap wasn't too great. Lawrence is now getting held up by Gasly, so you can't really look too much into this lap at the moment. But you can see there, Lewis Hamilton's first sector time is very good compared to Norris's. His first seems to be on par with him at the moment. Oh, that's a soft compound tyre though, that's why. That'll be the reasoning why. So, what's happening with the Mercs? They're way off. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like maybe the conditions. I mean, George was hoping for very cool conditions for this weekend. As he said, look, the car definitely struggles in hotter conditions. But you would think that with air temperature being 24 degrees, the track temperature being towards 40 degrees, I mean, we've seen the Merc perform well in these sorts of conditions. So I don't really know what to say about it at the moment, unless they turn up for quali tomorrow. Red Bull missing Rob Marshall. I don't think it's just that as well, Matt. I think they're missing a number of key personnel who have left over the previous years. There's been a big exodus from Red Bull. So, yeah, they're bound to suffer, aren't they? Do I think after the fourth championship, Red Bull drivers just never win again? It's like they made a deal with the devil or something. Who knows? Who knows? Will Max win another championship at Red Bull? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I don't think Max will win another championship at Red Bull. If he wants to win another championship, he has to go somewhere else. So, yeah, it always happens, madman. Same exodus happened to Merck. Yeah, you always end up getting, when you've had a period of domination like that, people end up leaving, of course, because they get headhunted by obviously other teams and they earn more money. It's just kind of the way it is. And with the majority of the teams being based in the UK as well, it's not too big of a shift, an upheaval for these engineers and these key personnel and so forth, designers, to move from one team to another. So, yeah, but it's been a bit more. There's been a few more key individuals leave Red Bull than I think there ever was at Mercedes. You know, Mercedes dominated for so many years, whereas Red Bull, it's been a drop-off. You should really, with how dominant Red Bull were, you should really have seen Red Bull dominate this set of regulations, or at least still be competing for the World Championship, like into this season, into the last year of this season where it's not. So, Max leaving for Mercedes would be the nail in the coffin for Red Bull. Yeah, it would be, really. I think if you see Max leave Red Bull, I think you then quickly see Horner leave. I think you do. I think you see a complete change in the leadership at Red Bull. There's been a few rumours floating around about Horner's position. So I think there'd be a complete change. Now, I think that'd be the final nail in the coffin for the shareholders. So, have I ever been to Silverstone? And if yes, how was it like, Norris? I've been once, not for F1. I went for the World Endurance Championship a good few years ago. And, oh my goodness, just watching Yuki Tsunoda, and he can't turn that Red Bull in to save his life at the moment. Oh my goodness. It was brilliant. I was there. It was very quiet. I was on my own. A few of my friends dropped out, and I walked everywhere that I wanted to. Stood on the entry of Maggots and Beckett's, which you can't do no more because they've put all the houses there. like its prime location for obviously those which they rent out. Yeah, it was brilliant. Stood on cop, saw the last year of the LMP1 cars. They're like as quick, or were as quick as F1 cars. So yeah, it was brilliant to watch. Loved it. Do we know any figures on crowd numbers for practice runs as people stayed away in the past years? There's no cars out on track. I don't know, to be fair. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the TV coverage and not all the grandstands are busy. Of course, it's a Friday still. Not everyone gets time off work. But the track does still look busy, but the grandstands aren't completely full. They will be tomorrow, though, when people obviously have finished work and that, so... And there we go, checkered flag, ladies and gentlemen. That is it to this FP2 session. Lando Norris set the fastest lap time there at 1:25.8. And, well, I'll tell you what, his long runs there, his pace did look pretty dab handy. So Norris definitely seems to be the stronger McLaren, I think, at the moment, compared to his teammate. Of course, Piastri's lap wasn't the best. I think he had a bit of a moment in the middle sector, but... it does seem like overall, from what I've seen, he does have, like the Red Bull Ring, just a bit more in his back pocket compared to his teammate. But we'll see come tomorrow for qualifying. The Charles Leclerc, the Ferraris, looking not too shabby. Both of Leclerc and Hamilton's laps there were on a second push lap. So Lewis's first push lap was interrupted, although it wasn't particularly quick, but it was interrupted nonetheless. And Charles Leclerc did improve on his second push lap, but that Ferrari is not one to scoff at come this weekend. Verstappen struggling in that Red Bull, half a second off there to Lando Norris, and it could have been worse if he didn't get a nice toe down the Wellington Straight, down into Brooklands Turn 6. And then you got Kimi Antonelli, Mercedes. I don't really know what's going on with them. Do they have more pace in hand, potentially? Lance Stroll, still probably go out in Q1, to be perfectly honest with you. The RBs look handy. They look to be best of the rest in P9 and P10. Fernando Alonso not too far back as well, as is Alex Albon. But Alex Albon is just hoping, of course, to finish the race after 4 DNFs in a row. Bortoletto 13th, Ocon 14th, Tsunoda still struggling in that RB car, Red Bull car. Doesn't have the same updates as Max Verstappen here this weekend, so that could be a contributing factor as well. Sainz had a spin here. Still trying to get up to speed with that Williams compared to his teammate. Hulkenberg 17th, Gasly 18th, Behrman 19th, and Colapinto 20th. My absolute pleasure, guys. My absolute pleasure. Would a green Lamborghini get both cars on the points? I tell you what, the way that they've been performing, don't rule them out. 3 race weekends in a row. Hulkenberg has scored points. Bortoletto made it double points for stake last time out of the Red Bull Ring. Very different circuit here this weekend, but they've been very good with their strategy recently as well, stake. So they could gain points from their strategy alone. I mean, Hulkenberg started 20th, bearing in mind, at the Red Bull Ring, and finished 1 place behind his teammate in P9. Obviously, great driving from Hulkenberg, but brilliant strategy and pit stops from Stake F1. Jonathan Wheatley joined from Red Bull, and, well, he has massively turned around that strategy and that pit stop team at Stake F1, and that's definitely been a large contributing factor to them scoring points, as well as the car making a step forward and the drivers getting the most out of the car. So never write Lewis off. Give him the right equipment, he'll show his skill. I agree. I think he's still got it. I think the same as Fernando Alonso. I think if you give those two... I genuinely think if you gave Alonso and Hamilton those McLarens, we would see a championship battle between the two eldest drivers in F1. Comfortably. I think those two, regardless of their age, I think they are still, if they've given the machinery, they would comfortably finish P1 and P2 in most races. Could Ferrari put it in pole? I still think they're short of pole position. The race, very different, of course, but I still think that McLaren is just quicker. Norris doing a good lap there. It'll be close, a lot closer than it has been for quite some time. But yeah, I don't think the Ferraris still have that pace on the McLarens overall. So Alonso the GOAT. Well, he's won here before. and he likes it round here. Many drivers like it round here. It's going to be an intriguing weekend, guys, of course. But drivers making, as Leclerc says, I think we've got to maximise quali, but the setup for the race is pretty good, Charles Leclerc says. So Charles Leclerc happy with the setup of the car at the moment. Let's see if Lewis Hamilton has any... I think Lewis is in a good position with his car as well and his setup. He seems to be going nicely, so... Chances of rain, around 20 to 25% is what I've seen thus far. Harsh, but that could change. That could change. Which one do I like more, Naresh? A rainy Silverstone day or a dry Silverstone race? I personally... not rain. I personally like a dry race at Silverstone because I think you get more wheel-to-wheel action. Rain is more chaotic, as it is at most circuits. But I'm not... I do like a race at Silverstone that is intermittent, so interchangeable conditions. That's always very interesting. But I think you get more wheel-to-wheel fighting with dry conditions, though. So, do I think Lewis will win this weekend like the pace he had at the Chinese Sprint? No, I don't. I think that Ferrari, as I mentioned, in quali and in the race, I think it's made improvements and it's got closer to the McLaren at this circuit in particular, but they're going to fall short of those McLarens. Unless they collide, the McLarens, and something happens between the two of them, which is not out of the realms of possibility. I do think it'll be a front row for Piastri and Norris, and I think it'll be Leclerc and Hamilton lining up behind them. They may force their hand, I don't know. Strategy, you can use strategy to your advantage here, of course, if there are those changeable conditions. That can also help as well. But yeah, I think overall the McLarens are still the strongest, as rightfully so we've seen them for the majority of this season. So no upgrades to Yuki's car. They want to get rid of him? No, they don't want to get rid of him. If they do, then they have to give probably the 10 million extra back to Honda. Why do people hate George? I don't know. You'd have to ask the people who hate drivers, to be honest with you. I think hate is a very strong word. You can dislike drivers, and you can sometimes dislike sportsmen for the most ridiculous of reasons. But hate is a very strong word. Could we see something like Lewis and Rosberg between Oscar and Lando as the season progresses? No, I don't think that relation. I think that relationship will be too good between Lando and Oscar. I don't think it will get, shall we say, as toxic between the two of them, or as, I mean, maybe, never say never, I guess, but I don't know. I think they'll just, unless there's more maybe dubious collisions and so forth, but I don't know. I don't think Norris has kind of got it in his character to have that attitude with a teammate. I think Piastri is just probably so unbothered by it. But as soon as he gets out the car, he probably just forgets anything that happens out on track. It'd probably be more Mark Webber stirring the pot than anything. So no, I don't see that relationship going that way, to be honest with you. But never say never. Do I think Ferrari is sabotaging Lewis? No, not at all. Not at all. Mert Pace will probably be back for quali. I think so, Speed. Yeah, I think... Look, you have to remember, you have to take these push laps with a pinch of salt as well. There is dirty air out there. There's traffic. Of course, Q3 is more likely a cleaner run when it comes to it. If these drivers make it to Q3, which you do suspect they will do. But yeah, I mean, this is a bit more of a relative... That where Norris is compared to Leclerc at the moment and Hamilton is where I expect McLaren to be. Around 2 to 3 tenths quicker than the rest of the field. That's what I expect them to be. Piastri, I still think, has that, but probably just a little bit behind his teammates. How much by, I don't know, but it does look like he's just a little bit off the pace of Norris. But never rule him out when it comes to quali tomorrow. But yeah, Ferrari seem to be comfortably second fastest. They seem to get that car in a nice setup. They've got it in a nice window. And look, who knows? Maybe that translates to the race as well. And we do get a surprise and they have genuine good race pace compared to the McLarens. Nothing's ever a given. But yeah, definitely good to see Ferrari, at least someone trying to challenge the McLarens and spice things up even more in this championship battle. So, no worries, Alan. Good to see you, mate. We'll see you tomorrow. On TC, on YouTube, some comments on F1 channels are so toxic, you don't get that in other sports as much. No, football you do. football, soccer, you get a lot of toxicity. But yeah, F1 has got very toxic, unfortunately, over time. So it doesn't... Thing is, as well, like I do the F1 podcast, Missed Apex F1 podcast. You can praise certain drivers to high end and back or whatever, the heavens and back, and you'll still have people go, oh, not good enough, blah, blah, blah. People are just never happy, and people also never just listen. It's whatever suits their own narrative. So, but you need to just ignore it. Does Ferrari have their suspension upgrade in Silverstone? Don't think so. No, I don't think so. Since China and Silverstone are sort of the same vibe, Lewis could put it on pole. Maybe. China was very different, though, because they were able to run the car a lot lower. Sprint race, of course, less fuel in the car, so the starting ride height is lower than what it is in the race, because you're not running 100 kilograms of fuel. So, yeah, that's why the Ferrari is a good car, but ultimately, you need to be able to run they can't run the floor at the ride height they want, because they got... And that's been their issue all season, is because they got disqualified for it. So the sprint races they've done genuinely better at, if you've looked at the ones that we've seen. But they've been trying to figure out for this season how to fix that ride height issue, which is obviously where the performance is in that car. And then everything else has, like, all connects, of course. You change one part, that can have a positive effect here, but then a negative effect there, and... It's a lot of work. It's not a simple case of just changing one element. You have to probably change 50 of them, you know. So I tried to, Zhuang, yes, I did try to visit it. I was in the queue, but the queue was very long and it was very busy. And I had little one with me in the pram. And yeah, unfortunately, I decided to bail out of the queue. It was just too long. So yeah, it looked like a great event. Looked absolutely packed. That also put me off a little bit while I bowed out of the queue. But yeah, it was a good event and looked to be successful. It said lots of F1 fans. So it was good to see how the sport has grown. I thought, to be honest with you, going at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, most people will be at work. I mean, seemed to be everyone either took the day off work, or people were just... There's a lot more unemployed people in the UK who are fans of F1 than I thought. I was there because I'm on paternity leave, so otherwise I wouldn't have been going at 2 o'clock, but yeah. Would I like Malaysia back on the calendar, especially the monsoon season? I'd love Malaysia back on the calendar. What a circuit Sepang was. Oh, unbelievable circuit. Lots of F1 fans and also general tourists. Yeah, I mean, look, it's Trafalgar Square. It's one of the hot tourist spots in London, so yeah, there's also that. But there was so many McLaren fans there, so much merch. I've never seen so much papaya in one place before. So, F1 fans calling in sick, exactly. I'll maybe, Karan. Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? This channel keeps growing massively. Maybe I'll get the opportunity to do a watch-along trackside next year. I don't know. But yeah, if anyone is a partner of someone, a company or whatever, yeah, get in touch with me, guys. Of course, always looking to grow this channel and make this full time. So yeah, and hopefully that means attending some race events as well and bringing you even more content. So will the Ferrari shirt be on tomorrow? Ooh, no, I'm not going to jinx Ferrari. The last time I brought it out, they did terrible. I'm going to keep the Ferrari shirt in the wardrobe. I may bring it out for FP3. FP3 maybe I'll bring it out, but do we want the BBC to take over F1 and broadcast for free? I mean, look, in an ideal world, most sports would be broadcast free to air. However, that's not reality. Money plays a big factor. We get our home race, the UK, of course. The British Grand Prix is on terrestrial TV, but there's many sporting events now, unfortunately, in the UK that are on pay services, and it's, yeah, unfortunately, it means, especially golf in particular. I was a golfer growing up, watching the Open, watching the Masters on the BBC, really got me into it, and now that's not the case. So yeah, it's a real shame that sport has kind of gone that way, but hey ho, it's the world we live in. It's a business. Exactly, it's a business at the end of the day. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, sector times here, as you can see before we shoot off. Sector 1 dominated by the McLarens there, P1 and P2. But Lewis Hamilton, very close, very close. Max Verstappen's time there, not far off either, but was a little bit assisted by a toe down into turn 6. Charles Leclerc, quick in that middle sector. Lewis Hamilton improvement to be made by him in that middle sector. As we mentioned, second push lap, he had dirty air from Oscar Piastri and his own teammate, actually, through Maggots and Beckett. So Lewis Hamilton could have gone quicker than where he actually was and got closer to those McLarens. All with some buts, of course. And Lando Norris, as we expect that McLaren to be in the slow corners where it's been so tremendous all season, that's rear traction of that McLaren is unreal compared to everyone else. Hence why they've done well at Red Bull Ring. Hence why they've done so well at Monaco. And yes, you can see turns. You can see there 23.5 for Lando Norris in the last sector compared to Hamilton and Piastri with 23.6s. So yeah, McLaren shirt has to go on for you. The only race it hasn't been on this year, Lando crashed, so opposite effect. Put it on, Lee. Put it on. You did a survey on the BBC recently, Mike, and getting back live sport was the thing I said I wanted more. Yeah, they're just not willing to pay for it. That's the problem now. They're not willing to pay for the rights for it, hence why. I mean, it's so tragic that the British Open, the Open of golf, is not on, only highlights are on the BBC now. I mean, that's absolutely tragic. As I said, credit to Wimbledon, the tennis event, which is currently ongoing at the moment. Credit to that event for remaining on the BBC, because they could probably take a shed load of money, Wimbledon, by selling the rights to Sky, as an example, but they haven't. So thankfully that has remained on BBC. But other than the odd international football match when we have tournaments playing, there's no other real sport on the BBC. Athletics sometimes, that's it. Got to venture to a pub, Tom. Yeah, exactly. So no worries, all good to see you. Well, we're back tomorrow for FP3. So, saving times will be key even during a quali lap. I agree, Dusko. Yeah, it's going to be intriguing come Sunday. Let's have a weather update, shall we, before we shoot off? Because that is what we are expecting. Let's have a weather update, shall we? Talking to the BBC, let's go to the BBC weather. I think Leclerc looks good. He was as fast on mediums as Norris on softs. Yeah, I think I'm intrigued to see what the race pace is like. I still think the McLarens, they'll be probably maybe around that gap of around 2/10 maybe over single lap pace that Norris has or the McLarens have over the Ferraris. But race pace is a different kettle of fish, of course, especially around here. I didn't, Naresh. No, I'm not really that into cricket, to be honest with you. It's one of the sports I've always kind of struggled to get into. I don't pay too much attention to it. So, this is the weather report, ladies and gentlemen. Let's close everything down. This is what I've got, weather-wise. This is what I've got weather-wise. Let's move you guys over here. Right, so Silverstone. That's tonight. Rain coming in tonight. Tomorrow, rain in the morning, dry in the afternoon. So we're going to get a dry quali. And then Sunday, around 20%. So race gets off, go in at 3 o'clock. We could see, I mean, look, when the race is on. So it could maybe start wet. So we will see. We will see. Tomorrow is looking like very, very unlikely at the moment. But we'll see. We will see how it fares. No, shit. Just like the Mrs. Marianne. Probably not going to agree with me with a lot when it comes to general life. Of course you do. Don't worry. I didn't wear it again. No, I'll wear it for FP3. I'll wear it for FP3. You watch. Lewis Hamilton will probably crash FP3 now, or Charles Leclerc will crash FP3 when I wear the top. But hey ho. But anyway, guys, yes, thank you as always. Have a lovely rest of your Friday. Hope it treats you well. And yes, we'll be here bright and early for FP3 tomorrow. It's going to send you to that stream now when I end it, so you can hit the like button and hang around there. Of course, as always, hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer and closer to 50,000 subscribers. So welcome everyone who is new to this channel. And yeah, big thank you as always. Go have a check out of my latest race at Silverstone as well in Sim A9 racing. It was a great race in the Super Formula Series if you want some more motorsport content. So yeah, have a lovely Friday evening, guys. I'm going to go pour myself a nice bevy, and I suggest you guys go and do the same, as it's going to be a very, very interesting weekend at Silverstone for sure. So yeah, have a good one, guys. Bye.